On this episode of CuestaDos, me and David are joined by Mat Santos,
Matt,
who's with us every
Matt.
once in a while watching on video. You could just see him. We have a explosive episode and is one of the funner ones that we've done. Whenever Matt
We
comes
want to,
along, it's always
yeah.
interesting. We talk about UFC right out the gate, Dave. Dave was excited.
I'm very.
Um, and interestingly enough, UFC was probably one of the most boring topics of the show. we then
Yeah.
we then talk about Major League Baseball fighting with the Players Union. Matt has some strong opinions about that. You could see his little scowl there. Um, then we talk about the Madden Curse. Is Lamar going to succumb to it? And then we get interesting. We talk about all the changes going on with the protests in the leagues and what we are calling the cancel culture going after sports. And then we talk about it folds into the NBA and what's going on with the players kind of going at each other. And Matt really, really, really hates Kyrie Irving. So without any further ado, I hope everybody enjoys the show. What's going on, sports fans? Welcome to another exciting edition of CuestaDos. I'm Alex Cuesta. On the other screen, he's David Cuesta. And we also have contributor and man that has failed to get a show still, Mat Santos. What's going on, guys?
I have to cough again. I have to cough. This is going to be a daily thing. This is going to be a normal thing that's happening now. I can't believe this.
Yapti does not approve.
There it is.
Oh, Jesus,
There it
why?
is.
Why? We're gonna have to call someone about that. So anyway, before we get into coughing over there, we have sports to talk about. It's interesting. We don't have as many non-sports related stuff because the non-sports related stuff has been very engrossed in a lot of political and a lot of protest things, which we're kind of going to touch on towards the end of this show. So we will still try to dig. David actually has been failing. David is our fun non-sports related guy. He
What am I
finds the
supposed to
next dimension
find?
stuff. He finds all that stuff. If you dig, Dave, you were just not trying.
Oh my
You
goodness.
are in a truck all day for your 9 to 5. You're telling me you can't listen to some weird stuff? I blame you.
I don't
It's
want
easy to
to.
blame you. It's very easy to blame you.
That is true. That is true.
But overall, we have another good show ahead. Matt actually has no idea what we're talking about, so this is going to be fun. He has, me and Dave, we have the itinerary. We kind of discuss what we wanted to talk about literally like 10 minutes before the show started because we
I
had
showed
no
him.
idea
I showed him the
what to talk
itinerary.
about. He showed him, but I don't know if Matt remembers anything. So we're going to figure out, we're going to have some fun. Matt's going to chime in with commentary, and it's going to be a good time. So, Dave, I want to let you get started because I think right now, favorite sport has finally made the pinnacle of CuestaDos.
Yeah, I know. It's actually starting off. UFC Fight Night happened. It's going to keep happening, and we're going to get a pay-per-view, which is going to be a very good pay-per-view soon on July 11th. But so the Fight Night that happened recently, not like any big names. The only slightly big name is Andre Fili.
Yep.
But it was pretty good. It was a pretty good card. We had some pretty good fights. Jessica I got beat up for the whole fight.
Soundly, we were texting during that whole thing, and was it Carvalho? What her name is? Calvillo.
Calvillo. Aren't you supposed to be Spanish? Aren't you?
I am, but I just didn't pay attention to her name. But
how does he get that wrong?
Calvillo, I didn't think that she actually had. I said to you, I thought we were going to watch a Nunes Spencer type of thing and it looked like in the first round for a little bit that I was just going to pick her apart. But Calvillo just showed a lot of heart, and whenever she got her to the ground, she was just comfortable the whole time, and she just beat the hell out of I.
Yeah, Calvillo is just very dominant on the ground, and she was able to keep it there. I just couldn't keep her standing up, so that it was easy for Calvillo at that point. The rest of the fights, I'm really not going to go over many of them because most people won't even care about the names that happened.
Yep.
So I'm just going to move on. The other fight nights, we do have Curtis Blades fighting in a main event against Alexander Volkov. I really like Curtis Blades, so I'm going to be paying attention to that. But I want to talk about UFC 251. That's going to be on Fight Island.
Yeah, buddy.
And I cannot wait for that. I actually might get Fight Island gear. But we have 3 championship fights in that pay-per-view. We have the Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo fight for the Bantamweight Championship.
Yep.
And we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway for the Featherweight Championship. Then for the Welterweight Championship, we have Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns.
So who do you got in all three, Dave? Who are you favoring in all three of those fights? And then we can kind of bring Matt in, and Matt's our betting extraordinaire. Matt does like to gamble. He does like to bet. No, it's not a bad thing because we do need to talk a little more betting
I'm not saying it's a
on our
bad thing. I'm
show.
just saying I don't know. I don't know if you know anything about what these odds are.
Matt doesn't have to know to bet. So, Dave, you give kind of your commentary, and then Matt will definitely base his bets off of what you say. I can guarantee that, and it'll be very sound structure advice.
I mean, I'm just gonna go with Jan for the first one. I don't know. Aldo gets a lot of my respect, but Jan's been on a hot streak. He's a very good fighter. I think he's gonna take that championship. I think he's gonna take it pretty handily.
And we talked about this. What the hell's Aldo doing there? This is charity to Aldo. Jan's a better fighter at this point in his career. Maybe Aldo 3 years ago. This is a much more interesting fight, but right now Jan should win that one, like you said, pretty handily.
Yeah. So, and then after that, for the featherweight, I do have Max Holloway. I like Max Holloway a lot, but Volkanovski is a very good fighter. So we'll see what happens. I like Holloway. Finally, for the welterweight, which is my favorite fight tonight, I think it's a main event for a reason. I have Usman winning, but Gilbert Burns is terrifying. I know, I understand it, but I think Usman can do it. But Gilbert Burns is such a terrifying up-and-coming challenger that I can definitely see him winning, especially with the way.
I wonder if we have any Fight Island odds yet. Do you see any on what you're looking at right now?
Yeah, I have odds right in front of me, actually.
You have odds? So what are the odds of some of those fights, Matt? And what would you, as a gambler man, listening to what David said with those three fights, who would you be going with based off the odds?
Not Aldo. I mean, Jan's a heavy favorite, so that's that's a little worrying when you got to pay $2 to win $1 against a former champion like Aldo.
No.
Max Holloway, I think he has some good value at $1.70 to 1. David mentioned Gilbert Burns. What I find interesting with Gilbert Burns is that he has the odds actually aren't, as high as I thought they would be, despite Usman being a $1 to $2 favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would have expected Usman's odds to be a little bit low. I mean, a little bit higher, rather than him being such a heavy favorite, despite Gilbert Burns' odds. So I look at that as their algorithm probably being off.
Okay.
So I think Burns is probably the pick, just because I don't think the favorite odds add up with the underdog odds here.
So if you are a gambling addict and you have to absolutely bet these three fights, you have to bet these three fights. Give us the three names that you would be putting your money down on. Are you going to go $1 million bet on Nunes to win 110,000 or something like that? Like, who would you bet on?
Max Holloway.
Holloway's your big guy. What about in the Jan Aldo fight? Are you going Jan even though he's the heavy favorite, kind of?
To be honest, I don't know much about Jan, so I probably would. I mean, unless there's an odds boost, I'm probably not betting on it.
Okay. And are you going to go with Burns?
Betting wise,
I don't know. Honestly, now that I look at it again, the odds are actually more tilted in the Holloway fight than the Burns fight. I think Holloway actually has the better value for that. Plus, Holloway has more pedigree than Burns, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So Burns, I mean, I don't really know where I fall on that fight. I don't know enough about either fighter.
So just putting it out there to everyone, this isn't Matt being unprepared. This is us not giving him anything to prepare.
100%.
We literally, 100%. He had no idea that any of this was coming. He had no idea that we were going to tell him to do some betting stuff. So
I didn't bet on the Jessica I fight. I didn't bet on any of those fights, so I didn't watch.
That's fair.
It's probably smart because you probably would have went for Jessica I and lost some money because she was the odds-on favorite to win that.
I am on a cold streak, to say the least.
It's never good. That's never good.
So, Dave, anything else from Fight Island? Any other fights stick out to you besides the 3 championship fights from Fight Island that you would have everyone out there looking forward to this to really keep their eye on?
I mean, both the fights beforehand with Paige Van Zandt and the first one that's starting the main card off, I believe, and then Jessica Andrade in the next one.
Yeah.
They're both going to be very good fights. They're both known names. I got off what the card looks like. I think Rose Namajunas, or however you say her last name, is fighting Andrade. I do not remember who's fighting Van Zandt, so I'm sorry about that.
Van Zandt, it's Amanda Ribas.
Amanda Ribas, which is also somewhat of a known name.
Wow. Ribas is a minus 670 favorite.
Wow.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. And Van Zandt's also coming off a very long time of just not fighting.
Wasn't she pregnant?
I have to say this,
I think she was
and I said it in our little friend group, but is there any other sport where the women are as exciting or sometimes even more looked forward to than the men? In any sort, and then UFC, and this is even going along to other action sports or fighting sports.
Beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball, yes and no. I think for us, because I don't know. I think because us, the Americans, were so good. I think that was the only reason.
It's because we're so good, right? Yeah,
Shut up, Matt. This is a family show, Matthew.
It's not a family. This is not a family show.
But overall, they do a good job, and I have to say, even though the fight night we didn't talk much about it, that it was still another solid card.
Oh, it was a good card. It's just there's no reason. If no one cares about the names too much and you didn't watch
no one cared about the names on the previous fight night either.
You know, there were bigger names in the previous fight night. But you know what, though? The thing, it was interesting because the commentary was like after the third TKO of the night to start off the night, there was 4 TKOs in the first round to start the night off. They were like, man, we have a lot of time to kill. People need to get into further rounds.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy, but we're going to jump off of fighting and we're going to go right into fighting.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There are 2 sides right now fighting, and I really think at this point, this league is going to be fighting for its existence if this continues. Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association, their union, can't seem to come together and make an agreement to have a season during all this pandemic. They are the last sport, I'm not even going to say major sport, probably the last league in the world that hasn't figured this out. I just had on Sports Opinions, Tim Britton. He's the beat reporter for the Mets. That show's going to be out. If it's not out already by the time this is out, it definitely should be. There's something wrong with me if it isn't. But
there's always something.
You shut your mouth. But we talked about this a little bit. And, you know, my end conclusion is, Matt, you're definitely much more of a baseball guy than both me and David. Yeah. My end conclusion with this right now is both sides came into this looking like it was a new CBA instead of looking at it as, let's just get on the field and play some ball. I want to go to Matt, since he's definitely more knowledgeable about baseball than both you and I combined, Dave.
I was actually going to say my piece real quick, just a real quick thing, and then let Matt go.
And then just get out the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted. Let Matt have his show right after.
He's going to rant. I love it.
All I want to say is, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't been following this as like too much at all. I just get the ESPN updates every so often. But I will say that, you know, if it comes down to the league possibly crumbling at all, I just want to remind people that the owners don't need the players after the league crumbles. The players are going to need the league. They get the money strictly from the league. The owners are going to take a huge loss, but they're still going to have a ton of money. Just going to remind people of that.
They still all have businesses outside. Most of this is their sandbox, their little play box for most
Exactly.
of them. So, Matt, give us your opinion. The floor is yours on the Major League Baseball versus the Players Union. Go.
So the Major League Baseball players are rightfully angry, I guess, because I would be upset too if they promised me prorated salaries and then wanted to backtrack on it. But on the flip side of things, there's thousands of Americans working the same amount of hours for reduced pay by 20, 30, 40%. So I don't really feel bad when you're making millions and millions of dollars and you have to lose 20%. I mean, I get it that you have millionaire taxes, but I mean, you still have a little more spending room than the rest of us. But that brings me to people like Blake Snell, who, I mean, first off, can you sound any more uneducated? I mean, come on, man. Read a book. Read a book. It sounds like he's from Florida. It really does.
Oh no.
But as I was saying though, Blake Snell, like, he is so short-sighted. And the exact team he plays for is a team that will be losing money if there is a season. The Tampa Bay Rays have no fans to begin with. No fans. If the Yankees and the Red Sox aren't in the building, what's going on there? Nothing. Nothing's going on there. So what do the Rays have? They're going to lose money. The Padres are going to lose money. I bet the Diamondbacks lose money. There's a bunch of teams without real fan bases, like the Cardinals, like the Yankees, like the Mets, that can't sustain. It's not sustainable for them to play. So I understand the owners. They're trying to. It is Manfred's job to play the most amount of games possible, and for there to be a season that's longer than 52 games, there can't be prorated salaries. And the players either have to understand that, and in my opinion, the players are being selfish. You may say the owners are being selfish, but I mean...
Hi, Joe. Everyone looking. Joe Hackett just entered into the background of the playbook.
Yeah, Joey just intruded on the show.
He did.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
But I mean, there's people... There's this one guy I follow on Twitter. I'm not really a fan of him. He runs his own sports page. We all know who it is. I don't need to name names. And he is blaming the owners. What?
I'm saying it's him.
It's somebody with. It's his namesake almost.
Okay.
Oh God.
But it's just like I feel like everybody wants to feel so bad for these baseball players and this and that, but I don't feel bad for Scherzer. I don't feel bad for Verlander.
Now, Matt, quickly, do you feel bad?
Contracts.
Do you feel bad for? Hold on. Do you feel bad for a Jeff McNeil though, who he makes $600,000? That's not anything to scoff at.
How about the first deal that the owners offered him, where somebody making $600,000 would make $400,000?
Yep.
Now I get it. If you made $27 million, you don't want to make $8 million. But come on. The players making $27 million are people that are signing $100+ million contracts that have already received probably a year's salary that was already worth $27 million. If you don't have the foresight with your money to plan for something like this, the average American cannot withstand a $400 bill tomorrow. Only 25% of Americans can do that. Well, these guys,
statistics. Wow.
These guys can pay him $4,000.
Sorry,
I'm losing my whole thing. The players just make me mad. Marcus Stroman, you're an asshole. Just, that's.
Marcus, if you're listening, don't ever go on Matt's eventual show, but come on mine. Come on Sports Opinions. We still want you. Yeah. So I see where you're coming from, Dave. We're going to do this to Matt again. Matt, you were wrong already about one league coming back.
That is true.
Baseball.
It is still not back.
Baseball's
not back, but
baseball's not coming back.
It's not coming.
Baseball. No, Matt. What does this do for baseball? They already are losing the young base of fans. Bye, Joe. We're already losing the young base of fans. Their dedicated fans are going to come back, Matt. If it comes back, you're going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch Yankees games. I really don't care about other ones. Dave's going to listen to us argue about it and never watch a game. It's going to be that same way, but we're all going to be pissed. I know I'm going to be pissed if there's no season, and I'm going to look next year because for me, the Yankees were robbed of a championship in their dynasty from this year. They were going to win it. But what does this do for baseball as a whole and its popularity? It's already sinking. If they don't have a season this year, what is it going to do?
Oh, the league's dead already, Alex. It is.
Can't disagree at all.
Because you know what? It's set up in a way where the old timers that watch baseball, that remember the 60s, the 70s, they don't blame the owners. These people are going to blame the players, and that's going to drive them away from the sport. The young kids, they just don't care about baseball, so they have no investment to even get back into it.
Yep.
And then the people my age, it's kind of contingent on, I guess, to keep the sport going. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but I mean, I'm never going to feel bad for one of the players ever.
And lastly, last question. So if baseball were to come back, Tim Burton brought this up that he's thinking that the owners might potentially be using kind of a stall tactic to maybe get 2 more weeks later so then they could force just having a playoff. Because I didn't bring this up with him, but let's look at it this way. They're about to compete against the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA playoffs right away. What's the point of having regular season baseball games? Who the hell is going to watch regular season baseball games when there is Stanley Cup Finals and NBA playoffs going on? I don't disagree that they should just go right into the playoffs as well. And let's just, they would have a much better chance ratings-wise if you're watching playoff baseball instead of a regular season second game of a 3-game series.
But if you're going to do that, I don't want a season. I do not want a season. If you're just going to play playoffs based on absolutely nothing, just picking it off of rosters, I don't want to see it. Just give me nothing. It's fine. I'm okay with no baseball at this point.
What about a 30-team playoff?
Like
based off last year's results.
Who cares though? who really cares? If the Yankees win it, it doesn't count. Yeah. If whoever wins it, it doesn't really count. So what's the point of playing it? And you know what? I agree with Tim Burton that the owners are stalling, but the owners are stalling because they don't want to play. They're not stalling because of it's not some gimmick. The owners are stalling because they do not want to play. And I read a report today that at least 6 of them don't want to play. Probably Tampa Bay and Derek Jeter.
It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting what happens. But Dave, let's move on to some other interesting things.
Yeah, some other interesting things. Seeing how baseball is cursed. Now we're going to talk about the Madden Curse. Lamar Jackson is the cover of the new Madden game that I know one person in this house is definitely not going to get the new Madden game because he said it looks exactly like Madden 20, like not even any changes. But we're going to have to ask ourselves this question. Will Lamar succumb to the Madden Curse? Now, the Madden Curse did absolutely nothing to Patty Mahomes. In fact, it just doubled down on Antonio Brown. So we'll have to see if it just skips Patty completely or and hits Lamar, or maybe it hits Patty and it's just lagging behind.
Patrick Mahomes is so much better than everyone else in the league that it doesn't matter. It did affect him. He was injured. That's how it affected him.
I guess. It's not like
Madden respected Patty so much. It was like, we're just going to labor you. We're not going to take you out. We're just going to make the league. We're just going to give the league a chance.
Madden itself wanted Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl.
That mustache has been immaculate for years. How could you not want that to get a Super Bowl?
Exactly.
But my only take on Lamar, I don't believe in the Madden Curse, obviously. I think it's fun to talk about.
I know, it's definitely a real thing.
With Lamar is the way he plays, he's way more susceptible to succumbing to the Madden Curse because he's a running back that can throw very well. I will never stop saying that. Sorry, Ryan Greenhouse, but he is an absolute running back that can throw very well. And you can't change my mind on that. I don't care how many completions, like, oh, you just completed that pass. Yeah, because there's 10 guys in the box and a roaming safety. That's why.
But he led the league in passing touchdowns, Alex.
We're just going to move on. Overall.
But listen, Lamar definitely improved on passing last year.
Now a wide receiver in shorts and a T-shirt in a throwing contest.
I understand that.
Did you see Kirk Cousins did you see Kirk Cousins in the Pro Bowl throwing contest?
No.
Watch that.
Why would I watch the Pro Bowl throwing contest?
Dude, Kirk Cousins.
Because it's better than the Pro Bowl.
No,
the challenge is so much better.
The Madden Curse is more relevant than the Pro Bowl throwing contest.
Kirk Cousins, shirts and T-shirt throwing contest. I got him. Any quarterback in the league except Patrick Mahomes.
I mean,
any quarterback in the league.
It wasn't in prime time.
That's true.
Fan, so he's in good shape. But overall, so I actually think Lamar is going to succumb to it. because he just runs the football way too much.
I can see him having a worse year than last year because people have seen him a lot. Maybe they can get used to his tempo in some way. I don't know how you can get used to someone that quick, but if anything happens, he might get injured. I don't know. I hope not. I really don't. I really hope not. But you never know what could happen when you're running the ball that much, and the system of the offense is based on you faking and taking or giving and possibly getting hit off the give.
I just don't think it's sustainable. I do not think,
And that's fair.
I don't think an offense like that will fool teams. Maybe it'll fool them this season, but after this season, I can't see a team getting fooled by that. The 2008 Miami Dolphins ran a wildcat, and it fooled a lot of people, and they thought it was so revolutionary just for it to stop working completely.
Yeah.
When we look at the examples, you had way back to Randall Cunningham, who was, a breath of fresh air. What were we going to do? Injuries. Mike Vick, injuries, and then his,
jail.
the dog scandal with jail hurt him. Came back, was still electric, just not Mike Vick.
Yeah, but
and then, like you said, there was the Miami Dolphins, and now it's Lamar. And even before that, we can even say Cam Newton. Cam Newton ran he was a better thrower, not as fast, but he ran the football. I was going to say
the whole difference with all of these comparisons is that they're all better at throwing than Lamar.
Yeah.
But Lamar
significantly.
But the give and take here is that they're all better at throwing.
He is not a better runner than Michael Vick. I refuse to
I'm
acknowledge that.
I'm just saying he has a lot more quickness to him than a lot of those comparisons.
Besides Mike Vick.
Yeah, listen. The
when
amount of
you run
times
the football 100 times more than Michael Vick to get his record, then you're not a better runner than Michael Vick.
That's exactly what I was going to say, basically. So I'm not even going to.
And Michael Vick didn't have any designed runs.
Yeah.
He just sat there, looked up, and was like, first option, don't care, gone. That's honestly was his play style.
Yeah.
So I think Lamar's going to succumb to it. I don't want him to succumb to it, but I also don't care about Baltimore. Sorry, Colton Gesser, host of Personal Foul Podcast. I don't care about the AFC North. It can all fall off a cliff. I could care less.
I don't care either, as long as the Steelers don't make the playoffs. I don't like the Ravens either. Honestly, my favorite team in the AFC North, Bengals.
Bengals.
Here's the thing with Colton, though, and we all know this. If the Giants make the playoffs, he still has a team in there because he's a closet Giants fan. But we are now going to jump into something that might get us into a little trouble, might lose us all of our three fans.
You're trying to hurt me.
But we're going to talk about something going on. And like we said, we mentioned the protests. We mentioned the things going on. A lot of changes going on right now. And a lot of changes happening in the leagues. NASCAR has had major changes. United States soccer, major changes. Football. They're going back on a lot of their protest rules, a lot of the kneeling rules. And to me, that's neither here nor there. Whatever you do for the flag, if you want to disrespect it, if you want to respect it, if you want to kneel for, whatever you want to do. To me, this is a dumb argument because we've seen players that have rode the bike. Marshawn Lynch, before any of this became an issue, quite literally, since the league mandated players had to stand on the sideline, which happened, I think, in 2013, it started to happen in the NFL. Yeah. Marshawn Lynch has rode the exercise bike and has never stood, and it was never an issue. And, it's not the first time that guys or people have either turned their back to the flag while it was going on. This isn't a protest to the flag is not anything new. And the fact that rules were now set, I think they were always fine, but now that we're focusing on the rules is a little ridiculous. My big thing going on right now, and Dave, we talk about this, and this is bigger than sports, but the cancel culture currently going on right now is something that is not at all what I believe this protest is about. It's not about the cancel culture. I saw recently, we see Drew Brees. And Drew Brees made his comment about his grandfather and that he doesn't, will never respect anyone that kneels for the anthem because it's disrespectful to the flag. He got destroyed for it. What people didn't look into is the context that he had that conversation in. He was asked a question about Colin Kaepernick's protest. So that is why they make it seem like in a statement he randomly brought it up. He did not randomly bring up the kneeling. He was asked about Colin Kaepernick's stance and the current situation, and he gave his opinion.
Yeah.
And then recently we have Mike Gundy for Oklahoma State. That just happened today. He was wearing an OAN hat. He was wearing an OAN hat, which unless you are a media person or a staunch conservative, you have no idea what the hell OAN is.
I didn't even know what that was.
Exactly. You have no idea what it is. But the major issue to me is because it is a conservative network, now it's persona non grata. You can't do it. You can't have a differing opinion. And he comes out today and says, oh, well, I didn't know the way they felt about Black Lives Matter, which is bull, because if you're wearing an OAN hat, you support them. So you've listened to it, you know where they stand. And number two, why are they not allowed to have a differing opinion? Why are we now canceling opinions completely because somebody doesn't like to hear it? It is a big issue for me that we are now just only accepting one opinion and we're not open to talking about anything anymore. Matt, what do you have to say?
Go first.
This is grinding my gears.
I want to know if Malcolm Jenkins listened to the whole interview.
I don't think he cares. I think he heard what he needed to hear and he didn't care.
No, I get that, but I mean, you could take anything that anyone says out of context and and it's all framing, really. I mean, if that's your teammate and you listen to him talk every day and all of a sudden he says that, he's not like come on, don't you think you would see some red flags a little bit? Like I feel like Drew Brees deserved a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, because if you listen to that interview, he's just answering a question. He is just answering a question.
What made it worse for me with the Malcolm Jenkins thing is that after he he responded to Brees in the video, he took it down. And apparently him and Drew talked and they talked it out, but he still felt the need to put up the second video and then take it down. So to me, that just is bad faith on his part, that you talked to Drew. Apparently you guys came to an understanding, but you still felt the need to make him look bad. What's the point of that? Like you said, if your teammates in the locker room, what's the point of that?
That's my whole thing. If you're interacting with Drew Brees every day, don't you think you would know? This is my same thing with Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. If you are interacting with the man every day, he is a Big 12 head football coach.
And he's been a head football coach at plenty of places, too.
Yes.
It's not his only place.
You do not get to the highest level of that by being a staunch racist. Let's just call a spade a spade. Look, you're talking about all-world talents go to Oklahoma State. Like Des Bryant was from Oklahoma State.
Well, we could look at Dabo Sweeney over at Clemson too. He came under fire too, and with his assistant coach, and then they piled onto him as well. It's getting to the point where it's diminishing the movement with all the ridiculousness.
You could have any opinion you want, Alex. You could have any opinion in the world, but as soon as it's the opinion they don't want to hear, you can't have that opinion.
And here's the thing, and I want to make a distinction right now. It's not they as a whole movement. The actual protester.
Oh, I meant they as in people in general. I didn't.
Agreed, but
the cancel culture mob.
But the cancel culture mob is what we're talking about, and the issue is the cancel culture mob is not the common protester fighting for equality right now. They are a different set of people that do not want the protesters to succeed, and that's and I know we're getting a little bit further out from sports here. But they don't want this to become a thing where we compromise and where we come together and where we understand and where we empathize. They want the divide to grow further. And we're only seeing it happen. And the fact that everyone is kowtowing to this small group that is trying to divide more than to come together is what's the problem in my eyes. Dave, you've been silent. Give us a little bit of what you're thinking on this.
I mean, I've been enjoying the back and forth, so that's why I've been silent. I didn't want to break it.
It doesn't want to say anything racist.
Whoa. anyway. No, but here's the whole thing. It's if you want to be understood, you need to be understanding. So you cannot say that you want people to listen to what you have to say and then not listen to what they have to say. I don't care how many times you've heard it, because you never know. Listen, a lot of the things that's been going on is we've been talking past each other. Everyone has. So we need to be able to have a strict foundation that we have a conversation on and then hear each other out, which obviously didn't happen on the Drew Brees thing, which obviously didn't happen on the Dabo Sweeney and the Gundy thing. And like Matt said, if you know these people, if there hasn't been multiple red flags, multiple things brought up about them, these things that happen, unless he goes out and shoots a man, like that one changes what you think of him. But these small things that happen that are just honestly differing opinions should not change your whole worldview about them. And this is a huge problem with wanting to jump so much on a subject and feeling if you feel so right about something, no matter what it is, you will try to attack anyone that has any differing opinion. And if you ever do that, if you ever find yourself doing that, I can promise you are not winning that argument. I can promise you that right now. Because if you are coming to the point where you are beating down anyone that says anything slightly different to what you want them to say, you will find that the average person that does not know much about that subject will not support you.
So overall, I think, we're all a little frustrated by it. You're talking to three people that have been staunch supporters of the actual protest. We've been staunch supporters of the movement, of the whole entire push for more equality, to end police brutality, and all this type of stuff. But it just comes to a point where now anyone and everyone with a dissenting opinion or a dissenting belief or a dissenting political value, all of a sudden is now shut up. They're done. You're not allowed to speak unless you apologize to the powers that be.
Yeah.
And that cannot be the way a civil society works. It can't be the way a league works. Can't be the way a locker room works. Can't be the way anything works. Dissenting opinions need to be allowed. People need to be allowed to be wrong in order to learn on all sides.
But, my biggest problem with all this is it is Kyrie Irving's job to play basketball.
We'll get to that.
We'll talk about the next subject, Matt. We're talking about the next subject. Hold on. We're talking about, we'll go, where that kind of blends in. Dave, do you want to jump right into it since Matt brought it up?
I was actually going to say one other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Two other things.
Matt's jumping the gun here.
Out that subject. Then we'll jump to that. And I understand, but one, I just lost it. Okay. One, if you didn't see this type of cancel culture coming, then you haven't been paying attention. One.
It's true.
Two, I can guarantee you may be on the right side of the mob right now, but eventually the mob comes for you. It always does. No matter when it's happened in history, the mob always comes for you. Yep. And that's it. That's all I have to say on that. But Matt already wanted to get into it, so I'll jump it right to you right after I introduce it. The NBA is having some problems starting up. So Matt's
fired up with his Kyrie hate.
Matt's assumption in the last time we had him that the NBA will not start on time may be a possibility with what's going on right now in the NBA. So Matt, go ahead. Explain it a little bit first, and then go on your monologue.
Well, Kyrie Irving doesn't want to play basketball because he believes that it's not an appropriate time to play with all the protests going on, and that it would basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, drown out the actual meaning of the protests.
That's what it seems like he's saying.
By playing the basketball. But
the basketball. Look at you and your Steve Summers by playing the basketball.
But with the Nets, he doesn't have the greatest chance to win an NBA title.
Not this year.
I'm just going to preface what I'm about to say with that. Now, Kyrie Irving is a basketball player for the Brooklyn Nets, and he is paid millions and millions of dollars to play basketball. Now, I understand that this is a civil rights issue, and I will not diminish the cause, but if you do not go to work, you don't get paid. I do not care what is going on. Kyrie Irving is paid to play basketball. It's not going to take away from it because there's no other sports going on. All the media attention is going to be on you. After a game, what's the better time to tell people what you think? You're going to have all the eyes of sports on you. So if Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard and Damian Lillard don't want to play, good riddance. Suspended without pay. I couldn't care less about what you think. You are a basketball player. You're paid to play basketball. If my dad doesn't go to work, he doesn't get paid. You get paid millions to play a children's game. Go play. Use your platform. And forward your opinions. But play. Do your job. Your profession is basketball. This is literally your job.
Now, Matt, I have argued with you about Kyrie before. I will say that I think you have somewhat of a hateful mind against Kyrie. But I completely agree with you on this subject. You should be playing the sport that you're meant to be playing. I understand completely what he's saying, but you have protested on the courts before. You could do it again. You could bring more light to the movement if you wanted to. So you should be playing the game. It is, and I fully believe that. And I believe Austin Rivers came out and said something about it already. I believe other players. Pat Bev said, if LeBron's playing, we're all playing. It's that simple. So I completely agree with what you're saying here.
What's the better time to talk about a civil rights issue after a close game between the Clippers and the Lakers, and it ended with I don't know, the game was decided by 5 points, and it took free throws at the end of the game to ice it. What is a better time than that to go and use your platform? You're an NBA player. You just have to go to the press conference. You could field questions about the game, or there are people that are going to ask you all kinds of questions right now. You could field which questions you want. If you want to talk about the game, you can go in there and talk about the game. If you want to go in there and talk about civil rights, go in there and talk about the protests. If you just want a nail biter, people are going to be watching. People care about the press conference afterwards. I honestly, Kyrie Irving has to worry about this coming off as a little whiny. Oh, I shouldn't say whiny because that's going to get me into trouble. But I really don't know what word to use to describe Kyrie Irving.
I get what you're saying.
But I mean, it seems more like he knows the Nets aren't going anywhere.
Could be. Let me just give a little bit about Kyrie. And, this is a lot of people share Matt's opinion about Kyrie because he has never been afraid to speak his mind. One of Kyrie's biggest, character traits is that he is not afraid to speak with candor. He will say what he wants to say when he wants to say it. And, as much as we might not agree with some of the things or a lot of the things he says, the flat earth stuff and, possibly not playing and things like that, it's kind of what we ask of our players. And at the same time, when they do it, if we don't agree with it, then we don't want it. And I'm guilty of this with LeBron because sometimes LeBron annoys me, but we look at certain players and we want them to open up a little more. We want certain players to, one of our issues with baseball players is they have no personality. They're not allowed to have it. So, but hold on, but we want our players to open up a little more. But then when they are players that are articulate and have candor and constantly are just putting their opinions out there outside of the game, we then become frustrated because they're not basketball focused, not basketball centric. And David, you and I are Nets fans. You cannot doubt Kyrie Irving's will and want to win when he is on that floor, and his dedication. So to bash him for his outside thoughts, I think is wrong. But on this situation, I'm not disagreeing because I do agree with you guys that it is his job. Now, this is a caveat with this situation. If they don't want to play, don't play. But I agree with Matt. You don't get paid.
Yeah.
You don't get paid if you don't play. If you don't want to play, if you feel that strongly about this movement that you do not want to play, and, Carmelo Anthony is debating whether or not he wants to play, which I think is a terrible career move for a guy that was blackballed.
Yeah, exactly. Man, he probably won't come back ever again.
But if you feel that strongly, don't expect to get paid. You could sit out. You can, and he's debating, Kyrie, I know, is debating on being an inactive down there. And I think it's to still get paid. But at the same time, I agree with you, Matt. If you're not going to play, you are the franchise player until Kevin Durant gets there. And then you guys are sharing it because you are both at the superstar level. It is Kevin Durant's team, but you are still a face because you are the Jersey boy. It really is. Kyrie is going to be the heart and soul in terms of where his location. He came home. So I agree with you. If he's not playing, don't expect to get paid, an active player or not, period.
I think what really gets lost in, maybe not football and baseball, but, I would say American sports except football, But in soccer, there's a lot of people who play that sport because they're good at it, not because they like it. Because they're good at it, and that's how they make their living, because they're that good at it. So I think it gets lost on us that there's NBA players out there that, you know, they need to play basketball.
Yep.
If they don't play, they don't get paid. They don't, you know, there's nothing to fall back on. Basketball is there. They have X amount of years to make as much money as they can, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the anything past the eighth man on the bench, man, that's your living. You're no star. You're expendable.
But overall, Patrick Beverley is right. If LeBron James wants to play, we play in basketball. That's it. If LeBron's in, and you know, and I listened to Stephen A. a little bit today because Stephen A. Smith had some stuff to say.
I know.
About Kyrie.
I heard
he wasn't happy about it.
I heard
he ripped him. He ripped him, and he basically was saying, "Are you trying to say that Chris Paul's inept at the job of being the player's representative because he's one of the ones, and Kyrie's on the executive board. Kyrie sits there in front of Adam Silver with Chris Paul and a few other players, and this is his time to voice his mind. And if he didn't voice it then when they were building this, why voice it now?
They let Kyrie Irving make decisions.
Yeah, he's on the executive
board. Oh, geez,
you didn't know that?
He's an intelligent human being. Whether you want to give him credit or not, he's a smart guy,
no,
Matt.
He's not. Come on.
Oh my God.
He
is not.
This is not the argument. This is not the argument. But not the argument.
If I had one player I could punch in the NBA, Kyrie Irving.
I hate you so much.
And he would look at you after you did it and go, Bzz.
Yeah,
and you'd be on the ground.
and then I'd bring up Kehlani, and then I'd laugh. And
okay.
Oh my God. We just went into levels of we will never get Kyrie Irving on Sports Opinions. Matt, maybe you shouldn't have a show, or you need to have a solo show called Matt is Offensive, and then you could just say whatever the hell you want. That could be a real thing. We might have to talk about that.
Could be pretty good.
Hot takes all over the place.
But overall, it is interesting to see what's going on, and this does come back a little bit to what Matt says, because you look at it, and I feel bad for Austin Rivers, because Austin Rivers is kind of in a weird spot. He's a player, but his dad's also a part of the management. So it's kind of like when you're attacking the management, when you're attacking the them not playing, you're then attacking his dad a little bit. You're because he's a GM/coach. So Austin Rivers is kind of defending all the people of role players, like Matt said, the role players that need this game. Austin Rivers probably isn't that guy because him and his dad, they're both wealthy. Austin Rivers is one of the bigger name role players, but he's defending all those role players that, like you said, don't get that money, that need to play, need these game checks to continue their way of life. So I do think we're going to get a season. I think we're going to go off without a hitch. If Dame doesn't want to play, if Dwight Howard doesn't want to play, Melo, Kyrie doesn't want to play, I agree. Expect not to get paid. Don't play, but don't get paid. And that's the end of it. And we'll see you next season. And that's it.
But you know what? It's not fair to their teammates either.
Yeah, I agree.
Damian Lillard, it's a different point. Damian Lillard was talking about it from a health standpoint. Why is it okay for you're going to go, but you're not going to play? It's okay for the rest of your team to go out there and play.
Kyrie did suffer a good amount of injuries this year, though. If you're looking at it from a health standpoint, Kyrie has been an injury risk this year. If that's his reason, I just want to shut it down, get fully healthy like KD. Let's get ready for next year. That's different.
Get that, but don't make it an I issue. Why is it okay for the rest of your team to go out there and risk getting injured? You're not all I'm saying is either everyone on the team plays or no one should play. Damian Lillard shouldn't get star treatment because he's a superstar. If I was Nurkic and I just spent all that time injured and I come back and I have to play these games, but Damian Lillard isn't playing, that's gonna bother me.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's gonna bother me a lot.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that sentiment where unfortunately, that is one of the things about basketball, though. In basketball, there is an I in team because one guy does make a major difference more than any other sport. So it's the unfortunate thing. We are going to see basketball. LeBron wants to play. If LeBron wants to play, LeBron wants to win a championship, LeBron's going to win a championship.
They set up the whole thing for him.
Yeah, exactly.
With this seeding, that's crap.
They're going to play.
I hate the NBA.
Listen, regardless of seeding or not, whichever way they did it with LeBron with this much rest, he's going to average 40, 15, and 12, and that's the end of it. He's going to dominate the league.
It's the
Not
same
going to be close.
But this thing is, it's the same exact teams. Both top 8 teams would still make the playoffs. Why can't we just keep them separately? Why do we have to do
Disgruntled Knicks fan.
No, but why do we have to do one?
My Knicks are
fair to the
bad.
Milwaukee Bucks. It's not
If
fair to
my
the
Knicks
Milwaukee
were the
Bucks.
top 4
Oh
in
my
the East,
God.
I wouldn't be whining. My
Yes,
Knicks
yes, I would.
are
Yes, if I was the 4 seed, yes, I would.
bad. I didn't hear you whining about the NBA during the 50-win season.
All right.
And we're done here.
There was nothing.
We'll save that argument for another time. We'll save the argument for another time.
All right. So listen, everybody got a jingle from me. I think that's a win. This was a fun episode of CuestaDos. I didn't time it. I have no idea how long it went on for. It feels
long enough.
Probably
feels
just
long.
I got to
an
slow
hour.
long enough.
It's 10:01, so
10:01. Yeah, it's all past all of our old man bedtime. Again, CuestaDos. Happy everyone that watched it, everyone that listened to it. We really appreciate it. Over there, we're in Joe Hackett of the Playbooks recording studio. My brother David Cuesta, Mat Santos. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you both for coming on. Matt, where can people find you on social media?
I don't know if I want people to find me on social media. After
I mean, at this point, they can hunt you down anyway. They know your face. They know your face.
It's just true.
I mean, it's hard to forget, isn't it?
Just give me your social media.
So my my Twitter is m_Santos7, and my Instagram is @Santos_. You can follow me. If you're a Red Sox fan, don't follow me. Honestly, if you're not a New York sports fan, just don't follow me.
If you're an NBA fan, don't follow me. Anyway,
and Brooklyn Nets fans, don't follow me.
Thank God. I'm unfollow quickly.
Yeah, thank God. All 5 of them are gonna unfollow me. Yeah.
If you want to follow David on Twitter, dcuesta308, Instagram, Questacola. He doesn't use either. Don't follow him.
To do it. I get him to
You
do
know,
it.
he hasn't posted anything on Instagram in like 3 years.
We will get him to change
Probably.
that. I'm Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram @Cuesta30. I'm not going to give the sports opinions Twitter and Instagram because it's just unfair because CuestaDos doesn't have one. We got to get one going, Dave.
Yeah, it's fair.
We got to get one going. So again, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. Hope we didn't offend too many people. And if we did, tell your friends so we can offend them too. Everyone, hope you have a good night. So long all.
Don't mention my name.